this ceasefire agreement. I want to quickly tell our viewers also in terms of the exact gains that have really taken place for all the three main stakeholders, which is Iran, Israel, and of course the US. Let's take that out one by one to tell our viewers in terms of what have been the kind of gains that have taken place in terms of first and foremost for the US. Gain number one, it has been able to diminish. Remember, we're not saying demolish. We are saying diminish the Iranian nuclear capability to a large extent. Most analysts are of the opinion that to a large extent, the Iranian capability to be able to create a nuclear bomb has been set back by at least a decade, if not more. The second important gain for US, for Donald Trump, he's been able to deploy world-class weaponry. Remember, that also has a very strong impact in terms of optics when you have those B-2 stealth bombers and the Tomahawk missiles that have been deployed to really demolish the enemy, for want of a better word, the adversary, in this case being the Iranian nuclear side. The third and equally important point that US has been able to gain out of this Operation Midnight Hammer has been that it has been able to establish its, let's go back to the American side, which was about how they've been able to not just demolish the nuclear facilities as far as Iran is concerned, but also been able to deploy world-class weaponry. Let's move ahead to the third and important point, which is that they've been able to take credit for brokering peace. This is very important. Remember, as I said, this is not just important for America, this is important for Donald Trump, that this is the big gain. If that ceasefire holds true, that we've been telling viewers right now, that Disha, my colleague, has also been breaking for you right now, if that ceasefire holds true, this is going to be the single biggest gain for Donald Trump. He will actually be able to take credit for the peace that he's been able to broker in this region. Now, let's talk about the gains for Israel. It's a tenuous peace agreement that he will have to stick to, but it's been able to establish the air superiority that Israel does have against Iran. It is in undisputed air superiority it has, but it has been able to establish that once again. Let's move ahead to the other important point, which is around that it struck Iranian nuclear and military targets. A lot of the Iranian scientists have been taken down by Israeli strikes, and also some key IRGC command centers have been taken down by Israeli strikes. Again, a huge win in terms of the tactical gains for Operation Rising Line. That's what the name is from the Israeli side. The third and important point as far as gains for Israel. Let's move ahead. Let's tell that as well to our viewers, which is that it's been able to assassinate IRGC's top commanders. And the next gain that is there for Israel, let's tell that also to our viewers, which is the next one after this, which is around it has been able to take down Tehran's Intel Hawks. That's again a very important aspect. There's been a complete destruction of the entire setup from the Iranian side, whether it is the scientists, whether it is the entire nuclear infrastructure, the strategic setup, all that has been impacted and taken down by the Israeli sides. And the last being that it's been able to make Trump join the fight. That's the most important part. Donald Trump all along told Israel, he told Netanyahu that don't enter this because I want to give diplomacy a shot. But the moment those strikes happened, Benjamin Netanyahu ensured that Donald Trump was part of, it was Operation Rising Line on Israel's side, and it became Operation Midnight Hammer for Donald Trump. And the last and the important part, let's also get in, which is that Washington stands firmly with Tel Aviv. We've said that. And now let's come to the gains as far as the Iranian side is concerned, which is that it's been able to display strength. While all along, one has said that a large part of the Iranian military strength has been decimated, but that isn't the case. It has been able to show to the world, to Israel, to its regional partners and players that Iran does have significant military muscle. Those ballistic missile stockpile that Iran has is significant, and that military strength has been there for its allies as well as adversaries to see. It's boosted the image in terms of standing up to the US. That is something that's extremely important from an Iranian point of view. And then the other last point that is also there, which is around the fact that regime change is something that hasn't happened. Remember, when it has been able to stand up against the US, a lot of commentary came in from Washington that there could be regime change, something that the Iranians and the Iran supreme leader has been able to stand up against. So those were the large gains that stood for all the three. The losses, of course, we'll talk about with our team of reporters who are joining us, Disha as well as Ankit joining from Tel Aviv, from Israel. Ankit, let me come to you first. first and foremost, Ankit, the fact that there is the possibility of a ceasefire actually holding ground is extremely significant, with Donald Trump telling Benjamin Netanyahu that he needs to hold fire. He cannot allow strikes to take place. So you've been reporting about the Iranian strikes. The fact that this ceasefire may actually hold true is extremely significant.
Well, it looked like a very angry Donald Trump who came out right now to press upon the importance of both Iran and Israel, holding the ceasefire. It looks like, at least at this moment, his words could be heeded too. A lot of public reaction here in Israel as well. We have been receiving, reactions where people have been saying that they do not want a very long drawn conflict. So it seems that there is some sort of work being done, heavy lifting being done by the United States to once again impress upon the fact that this conflict should not go any further. But I'm standing here in Beersheba, which is where a direct hit after 6 barrages today in the morning, just before the ceasefire was supposed to come into impact, was seen. And this is the place which has borne the maximum brunt of those impacts. What you see behind me is the massive cleanup operation which is going on, where heavy duty equipment is picking up the debris. Just a short while back, before you came for this live hit, there were massive trucks and cranes which had come in to clear all the cars which were absolutely mangled and destroyed after the impact on the 3 floors where I'm pointing at this moment. The news that we also picked up was that there were 2 people, a man and a woman in their 40s, those who were in one of the shelters, but the direct hit and the collapse of the 3 floors was too much for the shelter to take. They passed away in that safe shelter itself. 2 others also died in this hit, and more than 5 people have been injured, those who have been taken to various hospitals for treatment. And now let me also give you a little bit more context as far as the city is concerned. It is one of the largest cities, probably 4th or the 5th largest city here in Israel, and Beersheba has also seen 2 more missile hits just in less than a week. First, which took place on Thursday, when a hospital here was struck by Iranian missiles, in which approximately more than 80 people were injured. And then on the very corresponding day, on the Friday, there was another strike in which 5 people were injured again. And then just hours before the ceasefire was coming to place, Beersheba once again on the target, being hit directly in this building right behind me, where 4 people have died and 5 have been injured. Now, the death toll possibly has made it difficult for Netanyahu to come out and immediately announce a ceasefire. But after, the angry president of the United States calling both the sides to stop bombing each other, it seems that there is still a glimmer of hope that this fragile ceasefire agreement could hold.
The attack, many say, or the Israeli media says, is more symbolic in nature, as jets have been asked, the Israeli jets have been asked to go back after the conversation between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. So the attack by Israeli jets has been more symbolic in nature in terms of the Iranian targets?
It is imperative on any government, like has been on the Iranians, if they are hit for their domestic audience, for the people back home, they have to show a position of strength. And once, and this is precisely what Iranians did in the 6 barrages that were launched one after another in just a span of hour and 10 minutes, from 5:20 in the morning all the way, going up to about 6:40, 6:50, in the morning. So it was imperative, and it was expected that Israeli government is going to retaliate. There were sirens that were seen in North Israel even after the ceasefire was announced. So it was imperative that as a show of strength, the Israeli government and the military would, in fact, the army would take some action. So like you are saying, a symbolic strike back into Iran, a retaliation of sorts. But once Donald Donald Trump, in fact, hammered down on both sides that this ceasefire needs to hold. I'm sure America doesn't, and Donald Trump would not want to be embroiled in another long-drawn conflict. He came on the promise of ending wars and not being part of them. This has been something that people here are hoping will hold.
Indeed, and stay with us, Ankit, because I want to quickly now rope in Disha as well on the other aspect that Donald Trump just said, which was about that Iran can never ever have a nuclear bomb. So he's very clear in terms of while he wants the ceasefire agreement to be in place because his political capital is online, but that comes only and only if the Iranian nuclear program doesn't progress any further, isn't it, Disha?
Absolutely. So if from what we know so far, there are reports which say that Iran was in fact expecting a certain attack from US or from Israel, which is why they had even transported most of their nuclear material and their equipment from these three sites, Natanz, Isfahan and Fordo, that was struck. So in terms of whether their nuclear capability is entirely diminished, entirely destroyed, it is still disputed because Iran has said that they will continue their nuclear program, they will continue to rebuild, but Trump has made it clear that Iran cannot have a bomb and cannot have any sort of nuclear program anymore and cannot rebuild their nuclear capabilities, because if they do, it takes away from Trump's win that he's really trying to secure here, saying that not just has he diminished and destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities, which is an existential threat for the world as he has claimed, but also means that he has in a sense secured peace in an otherwise volatile and tumultuous Middle East. So if Iran were to rebuild their nuclear program, it would essentially diminish and take away from Trump's entire argument behind attacking these three nuclear sites, and it also will then bring in questions about his credibility, which he's already facing in Washington and across the US, where there are Democrats who are now calling for resolutions against Trump and trying to reduce his control over military, given the fact that he in fact did not seek approval from Congress or inform key lawmakers in the Senate and in Congress before these American strikes on Iran. So there's a lot at stake for the US president.